7 a.m. It's the start of a brand new season. It's spring, and we are back on American Midwest. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and we are ready to get going with seasons on our American Midwest playthrough. So when you left us last time, we just kind of prepped everything. We'd sold a load of grain, we got everything kind of prepared and ready to make some purchases. And as you can see, the money's a little bit low. I have already bought a field. I've bought field 26, and we need to get that field ploughed. Now, all the rest of our fields are already ploughed. You know, that's carried across from when we previously had those fields worked. That's carried across, and all that's happened is that all of our fields are now reset back to a zero growth, as are all the fields on the map. But essentially, they are still exactly as they were. So we don't need to plough those, just the one that we've just purchased. But we are going to make a couple of other purchases as well. First thing we need is to actually buy a plough, because not only do we need to plough field 26, we could theoretically use a culti plough for that, which we have on the farm, but the field is already cultivated, so our worker isn't going to do it for us, and we're not visually going to be able to tell where we've gone. But we also need to create an extra little bit of land. We've got that little strip now between 23 and 24 where we can join these two fields together. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to go for my trusty 4-meter Dolomite. I do love using this thing, and it's great for combining fields. So we're going to buy one of those. And while we're in the store, we're also going to place an order for an animal trailer. We're going to get one of these, the AM19. Let's get it in black trim so that it matches our truck. There we go. And we'll come and pick that up a little bit later. It's starting to get a little bit lighter, and ground temperatures are really good right now. So obviously we're using one of the geos this time rather than just the regular sort of seasons temperatures. So as a result, we have a 7-degree ground temperature on day 1 of spring, which is really, really good. It means that we could actually go straight into planting today if we wanted to. Now I want to kind of get some prep work done first before we do that. But essentially, yes, we could go straight into planting right now if we wanted and needed to. Now we don't have a seeder that will direct drill, so we are going to still need to cultivate all of our fields first. But once that's done, we can then just get planting and planting and planting. So the very first thing we're going to do, as I say, is we're going to link fields 23 and 24. We're just going to get that little strip of land combined to join those into a single field. Once we've done that, we'll then set a worker off to start ploughing away on our brand new field, field 26. And then after that, what we're also going to do is start cultivating our existing fields so that we can start the planting, which will probably happen tomorrow on day 2 of spring. See, that sun is starting to rise from behind the mountains. And here comes that little strip of land. Now we still have the issue on this map where we can't extend the headlands on fields. The grass still shows up, but what has happened is we do have obviously this little strip of land that's been added in. The grass has been removed on this section here, and it's the same as well if we look at the map between fields 2 and 3. That strip of grass has now been removed, and it's just this brown dirt to allow these fields to be combined. Because that was something that we couldn't previously do without the grass showing up. It still unfortunately affects everywhere else on the map, so we can't extend the headlands or change the working widths in any way of the fields without having that grass still show through, which is a bit disappointing, but I can live with that. If it meant I'd have to completely scrap the farm and start a brand new save file just to be able to do that, it's not something I'm willing to do. We've put a lot of time and effort into this farm already, and we don't need to extend the fields that badly. We've got plenty of land already, and the land is not that hard to come by once we start making some money as well. So we'll just plough out this strip here. run a nice straight line along here. And then, as I say, we'll get a worker hired, and that'll allow me to then run through some animal stuff with you on this farm, because obviously the big difference between this and Seasons in the Valley is that Seasons in the Valley was a farm starting from scratch. So we had nothing. We had a few fields, we had to do a little bit of prep work to join a couple of fields, we had to completely prep all of our fields with ploughing before we could start planting, and so on and so forth. And while we're into summer on that playlist now, we have absolutely zero sort of crop in stock, and we have no real animals at all either. So you know, that's a farm that's starting from scratch. The difference with this one is obviously this is a well-established farm. We've got a decent roster of equipment, we've got some decent numbers of fields, we've already got a lot of animals, you know, about 300 pigs and well over 100 cows. I think somewhere in the region of 120 odd cows. So we have a lot of animals to play around with on this particular farm. And we were kind of floating the idea of maybe getting some sheep, but that isn't going to happen. Now, I've looked at the prices, and the prices currently for sheep are pretty high. So we'll probably wait until the price for those comes down, and that'll be around autumn time. And that's when we'll look to add sheep onto the farm. But as I say, it's not urgent that we add sheep in. We have plenty of animals already with those cows and pigs. And I kind of want to run through the mechanics of cows and pigs with you, where Seasons is involved, because they are a little bit different. Some of the stuff I don't really know yet, haven't experienced it myself, but other stuff, you know, I have got information on. You can see there, this little bit of grass that sticks through. Obviously, that's just left over from this little bit of placement. But this is the initial problem. So I could plough straight down here, and we would just see, you know, ploughed furrows with this grass sticking through all the way along there. It is a problem with this particular map, and as I say, I think the only way to resolve it would be to do a file restart, and I don't really want to have to give up all the progress we've made on this farm. And Shu obviously doesn't want to make, you know, that you know, enforce that decision on us as well. He does play on this map himself. We have talked about that in the past. You know, he is a PS4 player, and he does like playing on this particular farm. It's, you know, one of his go-to farms. So I think that's why we haven't had that sort of issue addressed with an update. Here we go, just hopping over the railway here. Here is our brand new field, field 26. So we're going to get a worker to plough this out for us. As you can see, there's no way we could culti-plough this because it's already cultivated. So how would we know what's been done and what hasn't been done? There's no way for us to tell without constantly checking the mini-map or, you know, the in-game map. So we'll leave him working away like that. And while he's doing that, let's take a look at animals. So here we can see, this is the current price situation here. Pig value is very high towards the end of spring, then drops a little bit for summer, and then plummets down in autumn, and then goes back up again in December. In terms of our cows, you can see that it's not too bad at the moment. It's quite high, or it's getting higher. You know, sort of mid-spring is when they've got a really, really good value. Then it dips again for the summer, and then starts to go back up again during autumn, and kind of peaks around early winter for the highest predicted price for the year. Obviously, this is kind of estimated prices, so things may well fluctuate, and as the number of years roll on, then we'll get a more of an average popping up for each of these days. But as I say, the mechanics for animals do work ever so slightly differently. So let's start by talking about the growth cycles, etc. So I'm going to take this information directly from the Realismus modding guide, the manual to Seasons. So all of this information you can read yourself. In real life, the change of seasons, especially weather and daylight, affect animals. This is a natural cycle which is simulated in the mod. Even though many farms today animals are artificially inseminated, we have chosen to follow a natural cycle where animals give birth in spring and summer. Now, in the Seasons mod, sheep give birth to offspring in the spring, and while cows will give birth in summer. Pigs are the exception, which give birth in both spring and autumn. So for us, we've got pigs giving birth in spring, then our cows give birth in the summer, and then our pigs give birth again in autumn. In terms of our cows, milk production varies throughout the year, being highest in spring and lowest in autumn. Sheep produce wool mainly in spring and some in summer to imitate the shearing that is done before the weather gets too warm for them. As a result of the colder weather in winter, they need more straw as bedding in winter and in autumn than they would do in summer. So for our cows and our pigs, they're going to use up straw a lot faster, during the colder months. So we need to make sure that we have a good supply to keep us tided over during autumn and winter. It is now only possible to fill the feeding troughs with the feed lasting for a maximum of 3 days. If the animals run out of feed, they will suffer and die, except if you're playing on easy difficulty. The amount of food has also been changed, so compared to the vanilla version of Farming Simulator, the animals will consume more than what you might be used to. The productivities of the animals are now averaged out over time as well. It takes more time and effort to increase productivity than it does to reduce it. So their productivity can fall really quickly, but it can take a long time to build it back up again if that happens. The cost of keeping animals in terms of their daily upkeep with seasons is meant to represent, the general kind of upkeep in terms of owning animals, so things like veterinary costs and things like this. So this means that daily upkeep will also vary throughout the year and is highest in the seasons when your animals give birth. So for us, the upkeep for our pigs is going to be pretty high in the spring and in the autumn, and then again for our cows it's going to be pretty high for them in the summer when the cows give birth. The solid and liquid manure production, and this is a very important section for us because we're doing a natural fertilising farm. The solid and liquid manure production is also changed and is with the seasons mod based on actual real life data for cows and pigs. In the colder seasons the animals stay more inside, so manure is collected and stored for further use. In the warmer seasons the animals stay more outside, thus the reduced manure is, there is reduced manure production during those times of the year. So because it's starting to get warmer, our manure production is going to go down, which is not great because we're going to need it for fertiliser, but it will obviously go up during those colder months, sort of towards the end of autumn and through winter and the very early part of spring. It'll be at its highest. So we've got to hope that we can actually produce enough manure to be able to fertilise all of our crops properly. So let's just take a look at our animal chart and see where we stand with our animals. We've got a good amount of manure being produced, as you can see. We've got around about 110,000 litres of solid manure, and in terms of liquid manure we're talking around about 210,000 litres. Quite a lot. Now we're going to need most of that, if not all of it, to fertilise our fields. So let's start transferring some of that down to the farm. Now we're going to get our truck, which is somewhere. We need to get the Lady Junos restarted. Forgot about those. Ooh. Wow, why isn't this thing unloading? This thing should be unloading automatically and it's not. The food trough is full, that's why. Okay, so because we've overfed them basically, we dumped in a whole load of product, and our Juno is now full as a result. So we'll leave that one there. Let's scroll through to the other Juno. Are we going to have the same problem with grass? Nope, this one's okay. So this one we can restart. Let's find the halfway point, which is the next one along. There we go, that's the halfway point, so let's get that started. Keep that nice and clean. Where is my truck? There it is. So we're going to go pick up our animal trailer. I'm going to bring that back down to here. And once we've grabbed that, we're then going to head up to the top of the farm by our animals. We're going to start filling up our liquid slurry transport tank and start transporting that over to our storage silo on the main farm. And one other thing I am going to do as well is I'm going to try and completely obey the speed limits on this map, just to add a little bit more kind of realism time-wise, try and simulate those long journeys. So obviously travelling at 25 miles per hour in certain parts of the map, and then you know, moving up to 50 in others, it is going to have a bit of a change on how quickly we can move around the map. Make our way past this guy. We're currently in a 25 zone, as you can see, so speed is limited. But yeah, we'll be obeying speed limits where possible. So occasionally I might forget and speed, but I do intend to try and actually stick within the speed limits as shown on the map. So you can see we're up to a 35 zone now, so I'm just going to increase my speed a bit. Alright, so we're up at the main farm for our animals. Our trailer should be over here. Yep, there it is. So we'll get connected up to this. There we go. And let's start filling that. And while that's doing that, we need to get our cultivator up and running. So we jump into the quad track for this. Once again, we're going to hire a worker. So we'll grab the all-rounder. There we go. And we may as well start just here. There we go. Right, we are cultivating away and prepping ready for planting. Let's jump back. Where is our truck? Here we go. So this is now full. So we're going to head over to our slurry storage point on our main farm. Transfer all of this across. Oh, this thing is slow to accelerate when it's fully loaded. I suppose you'd expect that with 60,000 litres of manure. Go over the railway. Let's open these gates up because we'll need to transfer from here as well. And, oh, CSZ stuff is on sale for another 42 hours. So we'll have a look at that in just a moment. I don't know why I got my lights turning on and off there. So once again, we're kind of trying to stick to the speed limits. We've got a 35 limit here. It'll take us a little while to get up to 35 with this amount of slurry. The truck does seem to be leaning a little bit under the weight. I thought we might be able to overtake there, but it's going to take us too long to get up to speed. I really would kind of like to maybe see if we can add an extra field as well. I'm thinking of the idea of maybe adding field 1, putting some crop down there. We'll see how that goes. See how much that field is. If it's too expensive, again, we'll kind of walk away from it for now. I want to save some money so that we can look at maybe getting a big M in the summer months to help with our mowing. Although we do have that mower set up already, the Lely front mower and the Kuhn rear mower. So if we can't, it's not the end of the world. You can see our quad track there working away on the field for us, cultivating our field. This is one thing I really wish we could see more of in Farming Simulator, is actually see, it's great that we see, you know, growth cycles on various different fields now, but it'd be great if we could actually see some of those farmers that own those fields actually working them as well from time to time. It doesn't have to be all the time, just something that would periodically pop up, and it doesn't have to be all over the map, but it'd be great if, you know, we would see that as an additional feature where, you know, we could see 2 or 3 different fields being worked at a time, kind of thing. Alright, so let's transfer that across, and we'll keep making these runs until we've filled up our storage over here. You know, while we're up here at this part of the farm, it makes sense for us to kind of clean up that all that corn that's everywhere. So I'm just going to drop off our manure fork. We'll need that again in a moment, but we're going to grab our bucket and hook up to our dump trailer. I'm going to go and scoop up all that excess corn off the floor so we can get our Lely Juno running. Keep our pig area nice and clean. Animal health is currently at 80% for both pigs and cows, and I'd kind of like to see those numbers improve, and I'm worried that if we don't do anything to clean up this pig area, the cleanliness is going to affect the health of our pigs, and they're going to go down. So let's do our best to avoid that if we can. Big old CSZ bucket. There we go. Right, let's try and get the Juno restarted. It's still a little bit high, so we'll need to leave that there for now. Let's just get that bit that we couldn't get to earlier. There we go. Alright. Let's go dump this loose grain back into our silo. And then we can carry on shuttling our slurry back and forth so that we have that on hand, ready to work our farm. Oh, and one other thing, let's just detach that for a second. We're not going to do this right now, but I'm going to keep everything out because we are going to have to tend to our orchard. Obviously that got reset with seasons as well. We still have the trees, but they have 0 water and they have 0 manure on all of the trees, and we kind of need to get those up and running again. So we'll do that once I finish shuttling the manure, shuttling the slurry. We'll then start shoveling the manure, taking a load over, and topping up our orchard. Our little barrel core here, sorry, a little twin star is struggling under the weight of 60,000 litres of slurry. So we're going to sell it. We're going to get quite a good price for it, and we're going to replace it with something we haven't used yet. We're going to use an Oshkosh. We'll stick with a 700 horsepower engine. We've no need to bump it up to 900, not yet. Maybe in the future, but we'll buy one of those. So we're kind of spending an extra, what, 20 grand to basically upgrade to a new truck. So let's jump across. Here it is, our brand new Oshkosh. Pretty sparse interior, no gauges or switches or anything really, apart from a wheel. But we're not going to be doing a huge amount of in-cab driving with this thing. So this will help us move the slurry a little bit quicker. Follow that speed limit, 25. Plus it sounds cool, it looks pretty vicious and mean, and it is an American truck, so it does kind of fit in with this farm, although it does look, you know, a bit more militaristic. We already are using the Oshkosh low loader, so it kind of makes sense for us to actually make use of having the trucks. And who knows, if we do some logging, we could maybe get the logging variant around that time of year as well and have a second Oshkosh truck. But for now, we're just going to stick with the regular one. Default 700 horsepower. I'm going to use this to kind of shuttle everything around. It'll certainly make things a lot quicker and easier. That's the last of the slurry. So this will be the last trip that we make. And then we'll be working on the manure for our orchard, making sure that that's all good. We'll also check in on the state of our workers, see how they're getting on with the cultivating and ploughing jobs that we've assigned to them, and see where we go from there. We also need to look at maybe getting an extra field or two. So I'm thinking field 1 is the next one we're going to look at. We'll look at that as we take our first batch of manure over to our orchard. Alright, so our quad track's making really good progress. You can see he's already cultivated a large amount of this field. We did see that little patch in that corner over there where we are going to have to top that up. We spotted that as we were filling up our fertilizer tanks. In terms of our ploughing, that's nearly done as well. That's good. So let's take a quick look at field 1. See what the price of field 1 is. That's 322,000. That's not too expensive. I think we could comfortably afford that. Let's do a quick fertilizer job on it as well to bring the price down just a touch. So we'll take this job on, because this is going to need to obviously be ploughed. But if we can get a free stage of fertilizer on it, that'll help. Maybe we might even be able to get a contract job to plough it. Save us having to hire a worker to do it. We can actually get paid to plough the field and reduce its cost a little bit before we buy it. That would be quite useful. And this equipment does kind of fall into our natural playlist as well, because this is slurry that we're putting down as a fertilizer here rather than an artificial fertilizer such as pellets or a spray. We are actually using liquid manure in this tank, so that kind of works. We can get away with using, doing this job here and not breaking the storyline of our playthrough. So I'm going to get this field fertilised, and then when that's done we'll see what the next job is, and if it's ploughing we may well take that before we buy it. Well, and there we go. So, not a lot of cash, 1,500, but we are now a little bit further along in the discounting of this field, and we have been offered a plough job. This one's going to take a little while, but we're going to do it. We'll get a nice little bit of discount with a little bit of extra cash, and it'll give us something else to do while our workers are busy. So let's grab our loadout. I would like to get one of these Challengers on our farm going forward. They are quite big and impressive. They're also quite expensive. And right now, we don't really have a need for it. We have one big tractor in our quad track. We don't really need to add another one into the mix as well. Besides, I think the next tractor we're going to get will probably be a Magnum. Haven't used the Magnum really that much in Farming Sim 17. I've used it with the quad track, sorry, the half track loadout with the rear tracks, mainly on contracting work, but I haven't used it as a general all-purpose tractor. And we've got some great wheel options with it now, following the 1.5.1 patch, where we can put a mixture of regular twins on and half twins and all sorts of bits and bobs. So I think that would probably be the next tractor that we add to our farm. But you never know, we may go for one of the we may go for a different tractor. We'll see how things kind of pan out. So one of the things I like to do when I'm doing a contract plough job is to help keep me on the field a lot of times, but also when I've got a fixed plough like this that can't be rotated, I find it quite tricky going right back up next to a furrow like that. So what I like to do is I like to kind of cut the field into bits like this, so that I've always got the edge of the plough where I'm working, like this. So I'll keep sort of working this section, and when this section's done I'll then move over to that section and do the same thing again. I just personally find it much easier to sort of go up and down and match the front of the plough against where I'm working rather than the back of the plough. So if we were on the opposite side, for example, then obviously the back would be creating, or the back would need to line up with those furrows there, and I just find it much easier to do it with the front of the plough for obvious reasons. So this is how I like to break up fields, is to do them in stages like this when I'm doing my manual ploughing. It keeps me on the field more than spending a lot of time driving from one side of the field to the other. I can drive a little way up the field, cut inside, do the section, and break it into chunks that are much more easily manageable. And as I say, it keeps me working on the field more than than if I were to drive from one end of the field to the other and work from inside from that corner all the way to that corner in one straight movement. This to me just makes a bit more sense, and you spend less time doing this, sort of turning and repositioning at the end of every pass, because you've got much less distance to cover. Okay, so we kind of just about managed to complete this section. We've got that thin strip in the middle, but obviously we don't need complete coverage on contract work. So now we're going to, rather than go up and do that very thin little strip, we're going to leave that. And we're going to head over to this side, starting over here instead. Like so. And then just work this section here, and then hopefully we won't actually need to do that thin little strip that's left, and it'll complete the job for us before we get there. So, more ploughing to go. Alright, there we go. We are done with the ploughing. So we've earned ourselves 7,500 there. We have a new ploughed field, and I don't know why, but it's changed. It's changed to widthwise. I don't know why it keeps doing this. That's bizarre. Right. Let's see. So we have field 1 up here now that is ploughed and fertilised. We still need to obviously put fertiliser and other stuff on these fields. Our workers are done, so let's jump into the quad track. Let's tag that corner. And then we'll get this moved over to another field. We also need to work on our orchard as well, get that nice and prepped. A load of manure in there and some water. You can see we've actually spent quite a bit of cash on workers already. Down to 40,000 left in our bank account. Of course, we do still have our loan, although we are about to hit that for that field that we've just ploughed. We haven't actually purchased that field yet. Go. That's that little bit tagged. So let's see. Next field will be field 22. We'll get the worker busy away on that field. Is that a rock that I've hit? Nope, I'm in the tree. That's what it is. There we go. This will help be able to see where I'm going. So we should have corn stubble on this field, which we do. There we go. Just get lined up. And off we go with the worker on this field. Fantastic. Right. What else do we need to do? Oh, yes, we need to buy field 1. How much is this going to cost us now? 309,000. There's still some more jobs we can do on it. We can get it cultivated. So let's take on that job. Might as well get that discount down a little bit more. Plus, we're actually kind of mirroring the equipment that we're already using with the worker on our other field. So we're able to kind of pay the costs of our workers through this contracting to a degree. I think we spent about 7,000 cultivating the other field, but we'll be able to get this one cultivated. As I say, it's kind of I think it's kind of cool that we're actually matching equipment with the stuff that we already own. So another quad track, another all-rounder cultivator. Another little bit of cash. Won't be a huge amount because it shouldn't take us very long to do this job at all. But more importantly, another bit of discount on this field, so hopefully we can get it just under 3,000 now. Get it down to about 290, maybe 295. We'll see where we end up once this job is done. on the final part of this field now. Almost complete with this contract job. This is going to give us, yeah, a nice little extra couple of thousand in our bank account. And more importantly, we're going to get that nice little extra discount. So hopefully we'll be looking at around 290, 295. That's just about $3,000 payment there. How much is this field now? Oh, well, not that much taken off. It's still 302. Oh, well, fair enough. All right, let's take some cash out. We need to keep a little bit of cash on hand as well. So we'll take out a little bit more than we need. There we go. That'll keep us about 10 grand. So let's buy this field. There we go. We now own this field as well. So we now have field 1, field 26, field 24, 23, 22, field 10 and field 12. Excellent. Right. We need to sort out the manure for our orchard. So let's start loading up some muck. I'm wondering if maybe this is not going to be a big enough container for this. We might need to use the larger tipper, but we'll try with this one for now. And we'll get all this manure shoveled. Oops. Thought for a second I might have tipped on the ground there. Looks like we kind of got away with that. Let's change to the claw view. There we go. So this trailer holds 14,000 litres, if memory serves me correct. Which is handy because we have 14 trees, each needing 1,000 litres of manure. So this first trailer should take care of all of our trees, and then the second trailer and third trailer will be to put some extra stock manure down. And what I also want to do is, I think we might buy some extra trees. We have the cash, you know, we don't have a huge amount of debt at this stage. We've got plenty of fields that we can work. I don't want to overdo the debt because I do still want to be able to buy that big M for the summer. We do also, don't forget, have some silage that's waiting to be shoveled at the BGA. And oh, I think we're full. Let's just tip that back out. Close up. Yeah, there we go, 14,000 litres. So let's make our way over to the orchard. We've got a water trailer over there, although I don't know if there's any water in that trailer. We can up our speed because this is a 35 zone. And now we're in a 50 zone apparently, now that we're away from the field, but we just can't, you know, don't have any more speed to push the thing up to. But we're almost here, so it's not too far. Yeah, we'll get these trees manured. I wonder if seasons actually affects the income we get from these. Oh, it looks as though we actually have manure up here already. I thought we were out of manure up here, so... Oh well, never mind. We have an extra stash. We have that manure fork here as well. I'd forgotten about that. There we go. Oh, I do remember this thing doesn't have collisions, does it? I seem to remember we scooped a load of manure off the back of this last time we used it. Alright, well, seeing as we have this particular claw attached, we may as well use it. So, tree number 1. There we go. Tree number 2. Number 3. Tip the remainder onto that tree there. So we might have to move our water trailer to be able to get that last little bit that's poking through the side wall. We could also look at maybe switching out for a different shed, something that maybe does have collision. But we'll leave it as is for now. So that's weird, we're putting the fertilizer down but we're not seeing any fruit appear on these trees yet. Maybe they need the water for the fruit. Maybe they're not going to produce anything until we add the water as well. Right, so I'm pretty sure that that last tree that we didn't quite fill. So we'll just see if we can tip just a touch more onto it. Yeah, I thought as much, just a touch. Okay. I really do think we could do with perhaps something a little bit smaller and more manoeuvrable for inside here. I don't think we're going to have enough capacity in the shovel to do all of these again, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close this fork up. And we're going to detach this, and we're going to use the one that we have brought up. I think that has a slightly larger capacity. Yes, it does. Excellent. Okay. So this should allow us to tag all 4 of these trees now. There we go. Got a little bit left over. We'll tip that out when we get back. We'll grab the water trailer as well. Make sure that we've got plenty of water for all of our trees. Now, it only holds 8,000 litres, and I think, if memory serves me right, trees only need 500 litres of water. I think. See how much we've got left in the trailer, if any. We might have to go and top this up. We've got a couple of thousand litres. I don't think that's going to be enough. But while it's out of the way, we are just going to tag that little bit of manure that's crept through the sidewall there. There we go. Oops, I just attached that by mistake, didn't mean to do that. That's what I meant to do, put the little safety barrier on the end of the forks. Now we'll detach it. We'll try and do all of our trees. Let's see, we've got enough to do... We've only got enough to do 5 trees. So yeah, we're going to have to go and top this up. Although, 14 trees, that would be 7,000 litres, wouldn't it? Yeah, so a single full trailer would be enough. Someone has just finished. That's got to be our cultivator on field 22. So I'm going to take this over to the farm. Oh, I've actually got a water source just here, haven't we? Yeah, I was going to say, we have got free water at the farm on this one, but we've got a water source just here, so it makes sense to kind of use that. Just have to be careful not to go too deep. There we go. There's been a threat of rain on our farm for quite some time now, so at some point today it looks like we are going to get some wet weather. Not quite sure when that's going to happen. No threat of it right now. We've had glorious blue sunshine, blue skies and sunshine all morning. There we go, that's that tree done. A little too far away from the other one. There we go. Would like to put in some kind of dirt track in here if I can. It's going to be a little bit tricky. And last 2 trees. And there we go. So we've got a couple of our fields kind of prepped and ready. We've got our orchard back up and running, fully manured and watered. And now we've pretty much run out of time. So we'll finish off prepping our fields with cultivating and stuff next time out. And we may even start planting as well. In the meantime, that's it for the end of our first seasons loaded episode of American Midwest. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and we'll be back with another episode very soon.